How many times have we all heard the phrase, there are always two sides to a story, but what if the story is told by winners? You may be wondering where I'm going with this. Well, the reason is that the series that has been in the top 10 on Netflix for some weeks now is the perfect example of redemption, the ideal opportunity for the story to be rewritten, or at least told from a different perspective. I am, of course, talking about Cobra Kai, the continuation of the Karate Kid saga, but told from the point of view of Johnny Lawrence, who is the supposed bad boy of the story, or at least that is what we were led to believe for more than 3 decades. But what does this rough a little frog in Cobra skin have to say? Is it true that Mr. Miyagi himself wanted to change the course of the story? How is it that the long-awaited appearance of Ali Mills? Okay, before we start, I must warn you that if you are yet to finish watching the 2 seasons of Cobra Kai, you may be in for a spoiler or two, but don't worry, I'm going to do my best not to reveal any spoilers, and I will warn you every time that there might be one. And having said that, let's get started. And what better way to do that than to start at the very beginning? And yes, that means the origins of William Michael Zabka. This will take us back in time to October 20th of 1965 in New York City, when this little frog came to brighten up his home of his father Stanley William Zabka and his mother Nancy Heimert. You may wonder why I've compared him to a little amphibian, since this is the second time I've done it, and it turns out that William has Czech origins and on both sides of his family tree. His paternal grandfather was born in the European country, as did his maternal great-grandparents. And what does that have to do with anything? The word Zabka means little frog in Czech and in other languages of Slavic origins, such as Polish, for example. In fact, it can be said that his role as Johnny Lawrence is the most important of all of the ones that he has played. However, after the great success of Karate Kid in 1984, and after appearing in some low-profile movies such as Back to School in 1986, where he shared the screen with a young man named Robert Downey Jr., William decided to follow his father's footsteps and become a screenwriter, producer, and director. And although his incursion into this field has also been quite discreet in general terms, in 2004 he bordered on glory when he was nominated for an Oscar for his participation as a screenwriter of a short film of Czech origin titled Most. Oh, and since I've already mentioned it, I've got a fun fact for you, which is that William speaks Czech quite fluently. And speaking of fun facts, the actor himself once revealed in an interview that before he even participated in the film that made him famous, he already knew some combat techniques, but he had no training in karate. However, after starring in it, he decided to learn more about that martial art and even went as far as getting a black belt. But has he appeared in anything prior to this? According to him, his first acting experience was when he was 5 years old, in the school play The 3 Little Pigs. In addition, he also participated in some TV commercials for brands such as Kool-Aid and Pepsi. However, even though his first general experience in front of the camera was in the comedy series The Greatest American Hero, the role of the lifetime came at the age of 19 when he got the role of the antagonist, the character of Johnny Lawrence. But it seems that we have been deceived during all of these years because, according to many, Johnny was never the real villain of the story, and since 2007, it was already beginning to be suggested that the real bad guy was none other than Daniel LaRusso when Zabka appeared in the video for the song Sweep the Leg by the band No More Kings. That video was a kind of parody of the epic final fight of the All Valley Karate Tournament. And yes, after that came the famous scene from the series How I Met Your Mother, in which Barney refuses to shake hands with Ralph Macchio because he hates him for being the real wolf in sheep's clothing, more or less. So finally, in the same episode, Zabka himself appears disguised as a clown and almost makes poor Stinson's heart stop when he takes off his makeup and tells him that he's the only one who truly understood the true meaning of Karate Kid. And if you want to know more about what Macchio has been up to, then why don't you check out the video we have about the actor. But what do the actors who gave life to the iconic characters think about the eternal debate? Well, in a video recently published on Netflix, Between Jokes, both Ralph Macchio and William Zabka gave their thoughts on the view. Unlike philosophy of hitting first, hard and merciless that Johnny followed for so many years, in this case it was LaRusso who struck first when he said that Lawrence could have been a little more polite when confronted. But then, how did Johnny, or rather Zabka, counterattack? Well, for his part, between the lines, he made it clear that LaRusso was always a thorn in his side. In fact, William himself considered his character just another victim of a mistaken philosophy imposed by his ex-sensei, John Kreese, and that at the same time he was grateful for the opportunity that Cobra Kai series gave him to prove it. His exact words were, "As far as the ultimate who's the bad, who's the good guy, I'm way too close to it to make that decision. So that really is up to the fans and viewers, and it's individual to look at it." Also, in another interview for the New York Post, Zabka said that it was an incredible reconnection as the Karate Kid had been a big part of his life, and he was very excited to give more dimension and humanity to Johnny's character. He also added that Johnny is the complete opposite of who he is as a person, so for him it's really exciting and interesting to see Johnny sort out all of his past, change, and grow up, and that he's often surprised at what the writers did with the character and how satisfying it is to play someone who is neither good or bad. And the truth is that Zabka was not only the one who believed that poor Johnny was not a heartless bully, but a poor victim of more than one lousy teacher. And as it turns out, according to what William himself said recently, Mr. Miyagi once made a proposal to the actor and creators of the Karate Kid for a 5th installment of the franchise. And since we're already talking about the emblematic Japanese teacher, did you know that many of those involved in the important decisions in the production refused outright to let Pat Morita play that role? However, the director John G. Alvidson stuck to that idea, and as the result is the one that we know. Can you imagine someone else teaching karate to Daniel LaRusso? Impossible, am I right? Anyway, that wasn't even the point I was trying to make. What I was going to talk about was the idea that Morita had to give a complete turn of the character to Johnny Lawrence. The plan was that the months prior to his death, Mr. Miyagi would meet with Lawrence, who by then would have become a respectable doctor, and who would be in charge of providing the teacher with the medical care. And what would we get in return? The beloved Mr. Miyagi would become his teacher and show him a much more spiritual and sensible path. Unfortunately, Pat Morita passed away in 2005, and that idea could never be realized. However, while Mr. Miyagi was not responsible for showing Johnny a different reality in a 5th installment of the story, that did not stop the Cobra Kai series from becoming a success. As they say, the best teacher in life is life itself, and in that sense, that is exactly what has been in charge of teaching Johnny that philosophy that he had been following since he was a kid, and it was the wrong one. And the success of the production has been so overwhelming that the fans, including yours truly, are already looking forward to the 3rd season. But that will have to wait until next year. But what we don't have to wait long for is to play video games of the series Cobra Kai. The Karate Kid saga continues. The trailer was released at the end of August, and of course, from that moment on, gamers and fans of the story are already counting the days until October 27th, the date in which it was announced that the game would be available for PS4, Xbox One, and Nintendo Switch. Have you seen it, Curious? It looks great. Has anyone else pre-ordered it yet? Okay, so you remember when I first promised to warn you if I was going to reveal any spoilers? Well, you might want to cover your ears a little bit if you haven't finished watching the 2nd season yet. Okay, so here we go. Obviously, none of us can wait for Ali Mills to appear, the one that started the whole rivalry between Daniel and Johnny. Well, that and also to see what will happen with Miguel Diaz. It turns out that both things, Ali's appearance and Miguel's fate, could be connected. Now, I say this because there is a theory among the fans that assures the inclusion of Ali in the 3rd season that would justify with nothing less than the salvation of Miguel himself, without giving more details so as to not completely ruin the end of the season for those who are yet to reach that point. Do you remember when Daniel and Johnny go to have a few drinks? LaRusso tells Lawrence that he knows Ali is a successful pediatric surgeon. Exactly. Those of you who have already finished watching the 2nd season will surely understand why I have mentioned this. And considering the final scene of the 2nd season, the truth is that the assumptions of the fans make a lot of sense. So my curious friends, do you think Miguel Diaz's fate is connected to the appearance of Ali Mills in the 3rd season of the series? And now that you've seen the other side of the coin, whose side are you on? Cobra Kai or Miyagi-Do? Do you like the twist the creators of the production gave to Johnny Lawrence's story? And in general,